In the heart of the African savanna, beneath rustling trees and wide open skies, lay a village called Zambe. Zambe was vibrant, children played barefoot in the dust. Mothers sang as they stirred smoky pots. And elders told stories that made the moon blush. But for one child, Zambe was not home. It was a wilderness of whispers, a land where even shadows refused to walk beside him. His name was Taver. But few ever said it aloud. To them, he was that boy. That thing. The one from nowhere. Taver was the only child of his parents, farmers. Kind and quiet people who died one rainy night while returning from the next village. Their cart overturned in a flooded stream. No one came to help. At just 4 years old, Taver was left with nothing. No mother. No father. No home. He wandered, slept beneath trees, cold, bitten by insects, his body thin and bare. He dug through fire ash for scraps. He fetched water in buckets too heavy for his frame. He worked fields for coins. He cut wood deep in forests children feared to enter. At village festivals, he danced not with joy but to keep warm, hiding in the shadows of flickering firelight. The villagers whispered. They said he was cursed. That he brought misfortune. That he'd been born during an eclipse. Some swore they saw a shadow in his eyes. But none of them asked where he came from. And worse, none of them cared. Only one soul in Zambe offered him kindness. A poor widow, worn by years and hunger. She lived on the edge of the village with her little daughter, Chivia. Sometimes, just sometimes, they would call him to their doorstep. It's not much, the widow would say, but it's better shared. She gave him yam skins, old rice, cool water, and something more, dignity. Once, Chivia whispered gently, "Don't forget us." It was the kindest thing anyone had ever said to him. Taver grew strong. Not from food, but from survival. He learned to hold pain like water in his palm, never letting it spill. His hands blistered. His back ached. But he endured. Then came Zayo, the chieftain's daughter. Laughter in her eyes. Grace in her step. To Taver, she was the sun in his clouded sky. He watched her from afar, braiding her hair by a hut. She saw him too. Sometimes she smiled. To him, the smile was a promise. But to her parents, it was a disgrace. "You? With him?" they hissed. "That stray dog. We'd rather send you to the river." Zayo said nothing. And over time, she smiled less. Then one day, a stranger came to Zambe. His name was Godi. He was Taver's late mother's cousin, long gone from the village. He had returned only to learn she had died. He searched for her child, Taver. Godi watched the boy from afar. He saw the work, the struggle, the silence. And then one morning, as Taver bent over a stream, Godi walked to him and said, "You do not belong to them." 6 words. That's all it took. That night, Taver was gone. No one searched. No one asked. No one mourned. The week after Taver vanished, silence fell on Zambe, not the silence of mourning, but the kind that comes when people choose to forget. But time, as it always does, marched forward. In the years that followed, Zambe began to change. A gravel road was laid where once there was only dirt. The village square, once overgrown and forgotten, was cleared and marked with chalk for local games. A few families returned from cities with money to build modern zinc-roofed homes beside the old mud huts. A borehole was drilled, and water now ran clear from a tap, no more long treks to the river at dawn. Schools were built. Zambe was growing. But beneath all the brightness, a shadow still lingered in the heart of one person. Zayo. Though her parents dismissed Taver as nothing, Zayo never quite forgot the boy who watched her with quiet eyes from the shade of the mango trees. She had once smiled at him, not out of pity, but with something tender. A secret thing. A silent blooming. But now, that smile lived only in her memory. Her parents had long arranged her future. When the rich trader from Nando village came with his son, a man twice her age but with land and cattle. They smiled like the gods had answered their prayers. Zao didn't object. She didn't fight. Not because she was ready, but because there was no one left to wait for. The wedding day arrived with full sun and thick drums. Women wrapped in shimmering wrappers danced in circles. Pots boiled with goat meat. Palm wine flowed like a stream down the gullets of drunken men. Zam had never seen such a wedding. The guests came from 3 villages. They dressed Zao in coral beads and wrapped gold around her wrists and ankles. Her hair was braided high, her face painted with native chalk. She looked like a queen. But behind the layers of silk and celebration, her eyes were heavy. As the crowd cheered, as the talking drum called her name, Zao stepped forward. She took 3 steps toward the path that would change her life. Then paused. Just once. She turned her head slowly toward the narrow path that led into the bush. Toward the place where a barefoot boy once used to stand and watch her braid her hair. Her lips parted. No words came. And no one came for her. Zam continued to grow. More homes. More children. Electric poles appeared, though light had yet to come. But in all its growth, the village never spoke his name again. It was easier to forget the guilt than to face it. He had been buried not beneath soil, but beneath the weight of their silence. And yet, on a patch of dry, cracked earth where Taver once knelt to drink from a shallow stream, a small plant had begun to grow. Delicate, green, unapologetically alive. It swayed gently in the wind, unbothered by the dust that tried to bury it. Small, resilient, reaching for the sun just like him.